Watching the Cannabis Broadcasting Group here at cbgtv.com.
So what are you doing?
Nothing.
Nothing? Why not?
I'm trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
The opinions expressed during this show are those of the individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of their associated organizations or Lifestyle Radio.
You like music, you like weed, well, we gonna be good friends indeed. This is not much I like more than smoking trees. They'll make you dance the do-si-do and teach you how the chiva grows. Smoke a bowl on the 420 radio show. On Lifestyle Radio.
I love that picture of Lennie.
Is Lennie here?
No.
On in the hang, yeah.
On the front.
I don't.
He looks like a deer caught in the headlights.
That's exactly why I put it there, because I was like, "Oh, there's a deer in the headlights."
Yeah.
I don't think he likes it.
It was that song.
It was that song.
That's
Yes.
that song.
Yeah.
Did you sing along?
I don't know the words.
Oh,
I could have put them up
we're gonna get the lyrics to you for next time.
for next time. You have to listen, and there'll be
I tapped.
Yeah, sing along.
So, hi, welcome to the 420 Radio Show. We are here. Somebody just got kicked out. Al got kicked out. We are here tonight with Steve Bloom from celebstoner.com and Al Graham from Pace Radio and CBG, and Jack, the lawyer guy, is always late, but he'll be here eventually, I'm sure. Because Marcel's going to send him a message and say, "Hey, Jack, where are you?"
Oh, yeah. I forgot I could do that.
Marijane is in a car somewhere traveling along I guess it would be the 401?
Probably. Yeah.
Going out to Stratford because Timmy has a show tomorrow in Stratford.
Yeah. Nice weather.
Lennie is probably watching hockey. So we'll talk with Steve and we'll talk with Al. I thought it would be a cool idea to have Jack here as well, because Jack is not only a lawyer, but he is also
Who's Foxy Lady?
I'm assuming it's Marijane. He's also involved with Normal Canada. I don't know if you knew that, Stephen. Do you know who Jack Lloyd is, Steve?
Name sounds familiar.
Canadian cannabis lawyer who has gotten a whole hell of a lot of people out of jam. Foxy Lady. Doo-doo, doo-doo-doo. I never said I could sing.
Is that Marijane?
That is
Hello.
Miss Onesie to you.
I'm a fox.
You're always in onesies.
It's what the fox said, and you know she did that on purpose because I.
What did he say? Ring ding 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 ding, or pop 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 pow.
I love that song. I also love that the Baby Shark.
Oh, don't sing that.
Baby Shark. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo.
I said don't. What did I miss?
You didn't miss anything. We were just saying hi to Steve and Al. We're trying to pack in as many people as we can this evening.
I'm trying to track down Jack.
Yeah. So, anyways, I thought that it'd be a good idea to have Steve here because Steve's very involved with the entertainment industry as well as the cannabis industry. Why don't you tell people who your background, Steve, for new people that don't know who you are?
Well, I got my start in cannabis journalism with High Times. Yeah. I worked for High Times for 20 years, from 1988 to 2007, pre-legalization. Some really, really like heart of the drug war back in the late 80s, early 90s. They even almost tried to put High Times out of business back then. And High Times barely made it through the 80s. But by the time I got there, and the 90s was sort of a good period for us, and had a good run there. I started as news editor, but my background was music journalism and entertainment writing, and I'd written some books about sports and video games. I had a career as a music journalist. So when I got over to High Times, it was a little bit of a new thing for me to learn about the whole history of marijuana. But I took it on as something to learn about medical, learn about hemp, all these things I didn't know much about, and to learn about the whole legalization movement, NORML, and all the key players. Met everybody, and so from that point on, I moved over into doing more entertainment work at High Times, which meant music coverage, and it was a really good time to be music editor of High Times in the 90s. That was just a great period of all kinds of styles of music, and so many of the bands were into weed and into High Times and into the cause, and wanted to kind of get involved. And High Times was a really good way to get them involved, because we kind of like caught up with them a lot at shows.
And also, they were the only ones doing it right then. I mean, back then there was Time Magazine, porn, and High Times.
Well, as being up in Canada, the history that Cannabis Culture came along, and Skunk Magazine, and those magazines, that endured Cannabis Culture, still as a website. They were our first competition, really, at High Times, because High Times had no print competition, and the web wasn't happening yet when I got there. So it was all about, who had magazines or any kind of publication. We were the only ones. I mean, there were a few others over the years that, might have nipped at High Times' heels, but really during my years, not at all, until the Canadian magazines came along. And that was good. We needed some competition. It was, good for Canada, to move in that direction. In the U.S., High Times doesn't really publish anymore, as far as I can tell. They have a good website, but I haven't seen the magazine in over a year.
I think they're more. It sounds to me like they're into more acquisitions these days than anything.
They're just trying to survive more than anything. I mean, actually, they were sold to a company in Canada, in Vancouver.
Recently, yes.
Lucy Pharmacist, whatever it's called, Lucy. That organ, there's a familiar connection. High Times has a lot of depth, and I think Lucy is kind of taking over the debt, and that's how they're sort of making it through this period. They had to make that deal, but they've been
going through the same thing. They've been going through it for years. It's unfortunately, print magazine is not necessarily it's there. It's very prominent still. Print magazines, like vinyl, will always be around. But the major magazines are having trouble competing. It's a lot easier to promote and get advertisings online than it is in a print magazine these days.
Well, I mean, that's why when you go looking for news these days, you hit firewalls and they want you to pay for stuff, because that's what you used to do.
Exactly.
You pay for the newspaper, the magazine, or you watched it on TV. That you didn't pay for directly until cable came along. So I mean, it changed, and I'd say right now, media is underinvested in the cannabis world. I don't see that's where the money's going. Very few acquisitions.
I've never made a dime.
Well, a company like, say, Green Market Report, they got bought by Crane's business a few years ago, and it really was a good merger for them. So that's the type of stuff that would really be good. If some of the other companies, not saying that Marijuana Moment wants to be bought by some bigger company, but let's just say they got offered the Washington Post, you're our marijuana arm, are you in or not? That could happen. So I'm just saying, things can evolve that way where, we have a big impact in the media, but we don't get the investment, that's for sure. And there's not a lot of magazines left. Cannabis Now is out there, a handful of print magazines, but there's not a lot, so I don't know, it's too bad, but listen, there's just tons of websites. That's where you get your information from these days. Podcasts like here, so there's lots of ways to get, the news.
Yep.
So I have a question actually when it comes to print magazines. Do you think it has to do with the fact that they can't get advertising dollars from specific companies because of rules and regulations around advertising with the cannabis space?
That could be. I mean, in the days when I was at High Times, there were no such rules, and all the ads were from paraphernalia type companies, seed companies, maybe a record company here and there, but never like a mainstream product. Never like a, like an Oreos or something like that.
Yeah.
Or, and still to this day, none of them have ever crossed over into advertising in any type of.
Which is crazy. Oreo would make a killing if they just advertised in
you do see some imaginative marketing with munchies, like Doritos has a specific Twitter account geared to the pothead, and they get
Oh.
a lot of followers, and they also get a lot. They put out a lot of teasers for different flavors and stuff like that.
Is it called Doritos?
I can't remember what it's called. To be honest, I can't remember. I
Well,
just know
Henry
they
came
follow
out with
the
that
show. I know that.
Henry came out with that 425 bar years ago.
That's a good point. That's a good
That
point.
had no chocolate and was totally disgusting.
I never tried
it.
it.
Yeah, they couldn't even get it. It wasn't even infused. But as far as the magazine and the thing, from my experience back in with Treating Yourself days, cost, because Treating Yourself was around well before legalization and well before any regulations were put in on any advertising. And I know that cost was a big factor.
It was a big factor for What's Up Toronto as well.
Well, I of course I remember Treating Yourself, Marco, correct? The thing is now with the laws, it may be harder for the MSO companies to advertise. You would think those companies would want to advertise their brands in magazines to promote. Companies like that have the money, to do that type of bigger spending. And there's big companies out there with lots of money. Truly is spending $30 million to try and get legal in Florida alone. I mean, there's tonnage, but I'm not sure what they can't do. I'm not really in on that anymore. But I'll tell you, there's very little advertising comes on the web because there's all those reasons that might make it problematic. So, I mean, all the advertising I get is very, from Ed Rosenthal's company or people that I know, or Felipe Lucas, he's been a good advertiser, with his Plan Check brand and stuff. And so, but it comes through friendships, not through corporate,
Well, that's what most of the advertising that we've all done, including Al, is from friendships. We both know Kim Barnhart at Legacy 420, so he's been around for years doing stuff with us. And there's other entities out there that have been around too. Ross Middleton at BMA Hydroponics was around. He did the show with us for a little while. So it's not the same. It's not the same.
But I'm not complaining. Just figure it out yourself and figure out a way to make a place for yourself in the media in the cannabis world. There's lots of opportunities if you figure your niche. I got mine. And nobody seems to go along. I mean, High Times, a few other publications run some celebrity stories once in a while, but nobody's come along. Okay, and after this conversation, somebody's going to, I'm going to compete with Steve Bloom. But honestly, I've had this website for 15 years, and nobody quite does something like that. It may not be the most successful website in the world, but it has its niche.
Well, that's like us here, Steve. I mean, all of us will say the same thing. If we get one person that's taken away something from what we've done one night, that's fine. We're not going to make $1 million. We know this.
Yeah, but you prefer 100.
What's that?
You'd prefer 100 or?
Oh yeah, well, exactly. I'd like to pay for this.
But I know, like when I was doing my cannabis documentary series in cafes, if I had one person show up, I was, and this is pre-legalization. I was always even just happy for one because I know that person was going to go on and tell other people. But like when I first started doing that, I had to put 2 shows on a day in order to accommodate the numbers for the people that were coming. But after doing it for several years, the numbers obviously do go down. But, it didn't matter to me whether it was one person or 50 people in the room. I was happy that somebody was there and they were interested in knowing.
And the same thing.
I had the same thing. Yeah. I mean, speaking events, I got to the point where I felt like I was a broken record.
Yes.
Just, I'm saying the same thing over and over to the same people.
I was always different people.
For me, a lot of times it was the same people. But what I realized that there was always new people in there. So there were some people that weren't hearing it. But
and some probably just like the fact that you're doing the education and you're a spot or a source for them to get some information.
Well, yeah. because if I went up and spoke for an hour, then I'd have to spend at least 2 to 3 hours answering questions there, and then answering questions for another week
So instead, he
after
comes
I
here
got
every
home.
Friday night.
Yeah, so instead I come here Friday night and I'll answer questions here.
There you go.
Well, two things, in response to a couple of things there is like Patreon is very popular for podcasts. It's a good way to kind of do things there. Are you on Patreon?
No, I've looked at it. I'm exploring options for both CBG and for the station.
It's just, you could hold back and only give them certain things and do this and have special things, there. If you build up your audience that wants to get things that,
and they will
support you because they like you. They support you because they like you. That you do something that they like. And they may not to thousands of people, but you get hundreds or even less than 100. But even that's revenue.
Yeah.
And on numbers, listen, I have a website, so I focus on how many people are reading a given article. Or you look at those social media, how many likes do you get on something, and that kind of tells you where people are at, kind of a zeitgeist of understanding what people are just really into at the moment. So, but sometimes you put stuff out and you think it's going to be the hottest thing and nobody cares. And sometimes you put something out and you think la-di-da and hottest thing. So you never know what's on people's mind. You try to guess as best as you can and present it well, looks good, cool image, pull people in, do the stuff I've learned for years to do, write a good headline. All those things, add up. Don't make a lot of typos. Don't be sloppy. Be professional.
Well, the one thing that I don't like that's happening with magazines and journalism and stuff in general is the whole AI thing. Like photography, you don't know if that person who's published this article has really published this article. With old school journalism, this is what was written. This was what went out.
Yes and no. There's a lot of plagiarism going on, from the encyclopedias and things.
Yeah, yeah.
I was way before AI. I caught so many people plagiarizing when I was editor of Freedom League because, people sort of don't know as better the rules of ethics that maybe I grew up with. So they would take things from places that they didn't credit at all. And it's like,
they don't think.
figured out a great way to catch people. You'd take a whole thing and drop it on a search and boom, you'd find it oftentimes. There's where it came from. It's hard to cheat. It's hard to cheat because of searching, so you can catch people. So I'm joking a little bit that obviously, but it's preceded this. Plagiarism is kind of AI is the new plagiarism.
Yes. Yeah. I've been playing with it. You can use it now on Facebook on your phone, and you can choose the different parameters, and I'll type something out, and then I'll hit it, and I'll hit funny. And it'll change it. It gives you like 3 or 4 different options. And then I'll add my own spin to it. Right. But I don't think I'd feel right if I was telling people I was writing an article about this particular thing. And it'd be like sitting here and having a puppet go like this. You know what I mean? Instead of me. That's just how I feel about it anyways. If you're going to write.
Okay, but you see me, I'm AI.
Yeah, sure you are.
This
Marcel.
This is the AI version of me.
Marcel's not a real person. I'm sorry. For 10 years, I've been putting him out there, but,
No, I'm not. I'm just a database of information.
He's actually HAL 143, or HAL 420, as we like to call him.
Yeah.
So the idea of tonight's show was kind of to do a year-round. So I thought,
Did you want to leave Steve blown up?
It's up to you, Mr. Cameraman.
I don't know where those are. I'm sitting there looking at it. Am I supposed to hit the settings button? Nope.
Below all the videos, you should see them. You would have the same access I have.
Oh, I know. It's because I'm full screened. That's why.
Oh,
I was in full screen.
anyways,
so I couldn't see those buttons.
So I can sum up the last year easily.
Crap.
It started out as shit, became shittier, went back to shit, and stayed shit until it got shittier, and then it ended.
And then your glass broke.
we had a shitty winter, spring.
Shitty grow.
We had torrential downpours for the most important growing months. Right? So we all got limited crops outdoors.
Oh, really?
Oh, fuck yeah. And that made for an even shittier
I had my best
year.
one yet.
Yeah. It's because you guys don't know what real shitty weather is.
Speaking of shitty weather.
Oh, big
anybody else got the snow yet? We got it.
Yeah.
No. Al, our whole month of July, it rained.
Really, eh?
Our whole month of June was forest fires.
Oh.
And then our whole month of July was rain.
So am I the only representative from the U.S. on the program?
Yep.
You are.
Okay, and I live in New York City. We've gone about
You live
700
right in
days.
Manhattan, don't you?
700 days without snow.
Yeah.
New York City.
Okay.
Oh.
What about today, though? Did you get some today?
No.
Really?
Not
that was
even
a
close.
really big cloud that was going over top, and it
No,
showed
there was
right
that
over.
last weekend when they were predicting a possible storm. You know, I live in the northern section of New York City, so it's a little kind of in the band where you might get some snow versus on the shore sides of New York City. So I'm on a hillier section of New York. So we got a little snow, you know, the next morning, like a dusting. That's as good as it gets these days.
Wow.
We got
Yeah,
20
you just
centimeters
crossed the
coming.
lake. You just crossed the lake from the Foxy Lady there.
Where are you, Foxy Lady?
I'm just by Kingston, Belleville area.
Ontario?
He's in New York City.
Literally,
that's
if you
not
go
like
New York
across-
and just look
across the
across
lake.
Lake Ontario, right? It's Lake Ontario.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Yeah. We're like the other side. We're the lowest point there.
Gotcha.
So go out and say, hey, what's your name?
Which is funny. I'm actually in Stratford right now, so I'm not even there. We had to leave a day early because all this snow was coming. We have
Kenny
a
has
show.
a show tomorrow in Stratford.
Two. The first one sold out, so we had to book a second.
Hey, New York City might see some snow on Tuesday.
Check my phone.
A total of about 2 centimeters.
Marcel's new job is our weatherman.
Which means that the amount of smog over New York City would burn that snow off before it hits that. That's why New York's not getting any snow.
The smog.
They can't get through the smog.
That's not true. We've had plenty of smog. We've had plenty of smog, lot worse than these days. It's warming. It has nothing to do with the smog.
Yeah.
Yeah, your temperatures on Tuesday are going to be like -3 in New York.
Yes.
That's Celsius.
I see a Tuesday at 32 with possible snow. So that, you know, again, 32 is where I am, 32, the city 35.
Where did here. I'm going to pull up your.
That's where Marcel will get the 3-degree thing.
Yeah, I was like, is that Fahrenheit?
No,
no, it is.
His 32 is in Fahrenheit.
Big F.
Yeah, but what's Celsius?
Not the big C. Yep. That's Slebstoner.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. 0 is 32.
0 is 32. So his temperature should actually be closer to 30.
That's my latest story, Pete Davidson.
Not a fan of Pete Davidson's, to be honest.
I guess he's acquired taste, but I think it's pretty funny. I'm comparing him to Lennie Bruce because he's so self-destructive too, and is on drugs and stuff. You know.
But that's okay when you're getting snow on Tuesday, Steve.
Yeah.
So is Mary Jane. So y'all getting it from the same system.
Both of us. If you scroll down, you see all the sections. So you keep scrolling down, you'll see that's the news, and next section is reviews.
What's going on with mushrooms down there now? Anything?
What do you mean going on with mushrooms?
Meaning like the legalization, because that's they're
It's
working
the
on it.
same thing as weed. It's going state by state,
Is it? Okay.
city by city. Moving around the country. Wherever they can find a soft spot. It's in a lot of legislatures. I don't think it's a priority in a lot of states yet. Because they're just getting used to weed being legal. But good for the whole the psychedelics track. Following right behind weed and just giving them something else to think about in terms of legalization. It's fresh in their mind. They've just passed, cannabis. It's now 25 states, so it's coming right down the path. And it's a little bit different. It's also therapeutic. In the same way that to get weed legal, you have to kind of go through the therapeutic process. And now with psychedelics, it just can't be for fun.
Why not? It's been for fun.
It's been therapeutic, and therefore it's okay.
Well, I use it therapeutically. I microdose almost every day. So
yeah,
Jack's on his way.
I know
there's quite a bit of it coming out on the news.
Well,
and he apologizes.
You posted something the other day, Al, about stuff going on here. I saw in your feed.
Well, yeah, has been.
So we're not allowed to post any articles anymore, Steve, on Facebook and stuff. So it's made it very difficult for us to share.
You just gotta know where to go.
Oh no, of course you
no,
do.
you can't share any.
Facebook
you can't share any. No, but you can't share any articles from mainstream media.
No,
correct.
So we share from non-mainstream media. Hi, how are you?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
I don't really understand that. I do it all the time. I shared a New York Times story today. I mean, what
yeah.
Do
No, we can't.
I'll let Al tell you because he'll.
Yeah, we can't do it in Canada because there's no agreement between Facebook and the Canadian government. Canadian government wants to collect money from the social media platforms such as YouTube and Facebook, and collect money in order to put into a fund for the creators of the content, which would be the newspapers, so on and so forth. So, like with music, we went through that battle years ago over music rights and people paying for stuff. Well, now it's going on with the news, and the Canadian government wants Meta to cough up about $100 million, and they won't do that. So they say you can't share your news on our platform.
But Google caved and did.
Yeah, they paid about $100 million.
And see, here's the funny thing: Meta won't allow it on Facebook, but on their new format, Trends, they don't say shit.
Threads, yeah.
Threads. Is Threads, not Trends? Yeah, Threads. Yeah.
Well, I would say that Twitter is a little easier to navigate, or X, these
Not
days.
so
I
much
don't get into the politics there, but I found that I was being banned a lot on Facebook for little things, and I had to learn how to get around that stuff. And where I've never had a ban ever on Twitter for anything. So Twitter or X,
either, but now Twitter has gone pay. So
partially, but I'm not paying. If you want features, and you pay. If you want to make corrections or go run longer, maybe I don't care about that. But I just people say, oh, I'm going to leave this or that. Not me. I have a lot of followers there, and it works for me. I've been posting a lot of videos lately of things that say could be a Coke scene in a movie or in a TV show that I watch on TV, and I just do a quick video. Never get that through Facebook. They would ban it in a second. You don't have rights to it. Twitter, X doesn't care.
Well, unfortunately, I think it was like he's lost like $14 billion since he purchased Twitter or something like that.
So what? Doesn't matter to him.
No, I know he does, but it does matter to a lot of people that have a lot of following, right?
Doesn't hurt me.
Well, I got 50, 60,000 people following me on Twitter on various different accounts, and I'd be upset if they cut me off. But by the same token, it's part of the game.
But they don't. I'm just saying I've never been cut off. I've been cut off by Facebook, but never by Twitter or X. And I can do more at X than I could do it. I can't post videos and stuff, like that. Like I'm saying, I'm having a lot of fun posting these cool little videos. Somebody smoking in a movie.
That's what the platform's there for.
Cute little videos that are real quick and are really tightly edited. I get them just right at the beginning and the end, the way it should be. The way people want to see a 7-second thing. And I've been doing that on Twitter. I don't even bother with Facebook, so I know they're going to be a hard time. So, but X doesn't care, which is
before I forget to say it. Hi, Timmy.
Then there's guys like Remo. He had like 150,000 followers on YouTube and all that.
And then they just cut him off. Yeah.
Gone. Just cut him off.
Yeah.
For what reason?
Because it was cannabis.
Because somebody complained, is what it was. Usually they'll leave
what
you
it
alone.
always is.
They'll leave you alone until somebody says, "I don't like you." Doing that, I posted a picture of this, along with some strain information, a few weeks ago, just before Christmas, and within minutes, they pulled it down, deleted it, and for the first time since I've had a Facebook account, I got a black mark for a whole month last month.
A whole month.
One little fucking picture.
No, I did too last year. When the weed stores started opening in New York, I would go to the first store, and the first one opened like last December. December before last, December 2022, and I went and pictures of the new boxes and containers. Nothing open. Not even just the pictures showing the external packaging.
Community standards.
And the display cases, and I got my first round of bans due to that. I didn't listen to them. I didn't get it yet that that's what they were after. They don't like that. Commercially, promoting products that are illegal federally.
Even though they're legal, because they don't want legal problem, but yet I could spill a whole bag of fucking shrooms on my desk and take a picture of it and put it on fucking Facebook and say $20 a fucking gram, DM me. And
right.
Nothing.
Well, they don't catch that, I guess. So they catch when you put a link out, or I don't know. For me, it wasn't even a link. But you're right; they're right on it, and I didn't like it, and they did kick me off for a couple of times. I learned my lesson, and I just don't do it again because I know that's what they're looking for. So and I go over to X where they don't care. A little more free speech over in X, whether you like his politics or not.
And it's different people. Different people are. Some people are on, but all like I'm on all
platforms,
right? But some people like Facebook, some people like Twitter, some people like LinkedIn for different reasons. But the people that are on Facebook and the people that are on Twitter are totally different animals.
I agree.
There's a lot more etiquette on Twitter than you know.
So?
Well, I agree. It helps you. You can only write for so long. You can't go into harangues.
When Twitter first got really big, it trained a lot of people how to say what they wanted to say in 140 characters.
Right.
Which is a great tool for writing.
It is.
But then they elongated it because now you can post a lengthier message. Right?
I don't know how to do it unless you pay for it.
Yeah, I've done it, but not on purpose.
I've seen people do it. I don't know how they get away with like a 200 character post. I thought that's now a paid thing. If you want to.
Now it is.
Maybe that's what I was gonna say. Yeah. I find flamethrowers on, the big social media things, Facebook and Twitter and the others. But I find it useful because it gets the information out to everybody, right? It doesn't mean that you got to spend a bunch of time there, personal time there.
Well, there's a reason why they call it social media. The unfortunate thing is it's become unsocial, antisocial.
I think it was sort of during the Trump period. We got so angry with each other. Everybody's
cancel culture, yeah.
Throwing shit back and forth at each other, and and it happened again during the beginning of the Israel war, and it's toned down a little bit, thank goodness.
And it'll happen again if he gets in office again.
Yeah, that's true. It's going to happen throughout the whole run this year. With so much propaganda and nonsense, but hopefully we'll fight our way through it, and he doesn't prevail. Calmer heads, and it just right now, he acts like he's going to win, but don't pay attention to that stuff. And a lot of the people are like, hesitant about Biden. When it comes to voting, they are not going to vote for Trump. And if they don't,
unfortunately, Steve, the stats say he is in the lead.
That's then. This is now versus then. Trust me, it'll change.
You
It'll
know how awkward polls are.
He'll open his mouth.
Americans have a short attention span. Trust me, Americans have a short attention span. They're almost forgetting about the war in Gaza.
Fair enough.
Yeah. It's almost.
They've already forgotten about the one in Ukraine.
Exactly.
So what kind of things have come out of your 2013, Steve? What things notably?
2013?
2023.
Well, it was a big year in New York, watching the development of a legal program fall on its ass.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it did.
It's so hard to do it right. So hard to do it right. Every other state is like, screw you to the little person or the person who got busted or went to jail for weed. Wait online after all the big companies, buy up the whole industry. Then you can get in the door. New York did it completely opposite. It's like, you go first, And of course, a lot of the big companies and different people complain and have sued and held it up. And at the same time,
was there not a program there where they not only had helped the areas that were victims of the drug war, but also helped with funding for people to set up the stores, people who have been maybe arrested
there's a fund.
an ounce of pot or something, and then the next thing they've got a criminal record for life. And
well, there's a fund, but yeah, the first round of people who were getting the licenses were called Justice Involved, and those are people who got busted for weed, went to jail, accept their life, mostly people of color, and also have some sort of business background, over the years, got into business, not just selling weed on the corner, but having, or having some partner that you kind of, have a partnership with somebody who's a little more business oriented, and you could team up and get the license. So anyway, that's pretty much how I got going, but then it got stopped by an injunction for 4 months. Now it's ongoing again. A lot of new stores are opening. I went to a store today and picked up some stuff. But at the same time, you have the legal stores opening and you have all these illegal stores like next door. So like today in the legal store, I walked by, like I always do, picture the legal store and then illegal store there, illegal store there. So they're surrounded.
We have pictures in mainstream media a few years ago, even as early as last year, showing legal stores and legacy stores, as we call them here, beside each other, and a sign on the legal store that said "for rent."
Well, it could happen here. Ultimately, if
the
stores don't do well. And the legal stores, listen, I keep on saying it's kind of like a balance of a seesaw. And right now it's kind of like up this way for all the illegal stores and down this way for the legal. And it's got a kind of like balance, so it gets to the point with me, more legal, less illegal, so it's fair for these stores, especially, they're not these big companies. They're small companies trying to get a break and try and succeed in this competitive market, which, so it's only fair to them that they don't have to compete with every guy down the corner. It's like dealers in front of your store selling.
In Hamilton, Ontario, at one time, before legalization, at one time, there were more cannabis stores, dispensaries, than there were Tim Hortons. And as you know, Tim Hortons is huge here.
Right.
That's pretty good stats.
Now here in Ontario, we've got almost 1,800 legal stores in Ontario alone. And now, from my understanding, from my reports, New York is really slow on the rollout to getting stores.
Right, we have 50.
50, like all of like
hey, first year. Hello, first year. You've been at it since 2017, so all right. Fair is fair.
No, but Ontario
is a little bit bigger. Ontario's a little bit bigger than New York State.
Yeah. Now you also had markets, did you not? there were some markets for legal businesses to set up where.
Yeah, they did that. Yeah, because of the slow rollout of the stores, they set up these grower showcases and let them sell through one retailer that they could set up. I went to one in New York. It was nothing special, but maybe the ones upstate were better with a good showing by the farmers. The one in New York was just like 6 tables, limited supply.
I've never tried American weed.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing about the New York issue. Okay, so they've had the problem of the rollout. They had suits and stuff that slowed it down. They've got the illegal market that's all over the place, and then they also have kind of subpar cannabis because they entrusted the growing to the hemp farmers and said, okay, now grow THC weed. Okay, it's just not quite as good as I think what people are generally used to. No matter how much people want to praise sun-grown pot, I think people are generally used to indoor weed. I'm sure they are up in where you are. More so because it's shorter growing seasons and you have to count on indoor growing. I know it's not great for the environment overall, but but still the quality is not comparable. So people go to the legal stores and they buy stuff and they go, eh.
Right. So the outdoor stuff doesn't have the curb appeal that indoor has. But you look at the ones that are used in growth hormone regulators. They're giving their bud even better appeal. All right. So that's what everybody
bud is expects. Bigger. That's the only fucking thing they care about. How big that fucking bug is. How nuggy is that nug?
Right. But in outdoor you don't have that advantage that you can't grow that dense, tight.
Well, it is what it is outdoor.
Picture worthy nug. But
people should have an option. People should have the option of.
I agree.
If you want to buy into outdoor and maybe pay a little less for it, buy indoor, pay more for whatever. But give people the option. New York opened its market with only one option.
Well, Canada's legal market is really only one option.
Only outdoor too?
Only indoor.
Yeah, okay. So, well, that's probably, generally speaking, better. No.
Right, but...
You can't grow outdoor in the LP market?
Well, I mean, there are some, but that's not what people want because it doesn't look like the indoor stuff.
Well, I could see the outdoor stuff being processed into edible products or
concentrates and hash and stuff like that.
I mean, looking good and smelling good. Most times I open a jar of New York.
You don't, but see,
it doesn't barely smell at all.
In Canada, you don't get to smell it. All right.
No, I'm saying when you buy it, after you buy it. I'm just saying not before you buy it, but once you take it home and you buy it. Open the jar, it's usually not a strong aroma. It's kind of terp free. It smells like.
Well, I don't know. I don't go to the store and buy it.
I'm just saying, it's just. I think that's what I'm hearing from my own experience, and also what I'm hearing from other people who complain about the quality of the bud in New York. That's another issue, that they just rather go to the illegal stores where they can buy this California branded stuff that's coming in from out of state.
Right. See, I'm one of those ones that I prefer outdoor. I like the taste. I like the effect. I like everything about it. I'm not a fan of these trying to achieve the highest THC because I want something that's going to have the widest range of cannabinoids that's going to benefit me the most health-wise. So outdoor gives me the widest range of cannabinoids, and it's all naturally grown.
Well, then you'd be very happy with the New York market.
Yeah. Well,
are they allowing you to
come on down?
Are they allowing you to grow at home openly, Steve?
It's slowly but surely they're allowing that. I think there are now rules that are allowing, adult use, adults to grow versus just patients
we here in Canada, you can per household you can grow 4 plants, not per person per house.
It's usually a 6 here and a 6, maybe a 12 with 2 people in the house or something like that.
Really?
But I don't think it's really clear cut that people understand what's legal and not legal. Home grow has not been a big issue in New York State because, first of all, we now have it. And there's just such a surplus of weed in New York. I don't think people really care, that they need to grow it. People are going to grow to want to grow it. They're not going to just suddenly grow because it's legal to grow. They're still going to buy in the store because it's legal to buy in the store. So, I don't think it's going to have that many more people growing. People want to grow weed. they're going to grow weed, and now it's legal enough to worry. But I don't think there's going to be a rush of people. Oh, everybody's growing weed. I don't think so. It's
Sky's going to fall.
It's not easy to do that. Everybody, and you're not going to, you grow it yourself. It's not going to come out as good as what you buy in the store until you figure it out.
Yeah, it's hard to grow weed.
It could take 5 years to figure that out or whatever. And then you finally go to the crop.
Al tried growing this year or last year for the first time outdoors at his farm.
I didn't do so bad. It's up here that I can't get anything to fucking come out of the ground, man.
Well,
because it's a different spot, right?
Well, like you said at the beginning of the show, Al, or you're talking about the rainy season's hard to grow. Same thing here. I grew a couple of years ago with a friend. We grew about 5 plants. Boy, we get killed at the end of the season we had 2 hurricanes.
Wow, that makes it hard to grow.
They started to mold pretty heavily, and we saved it to some degree, but we kind of lost a lot of it.
Yeah, it got to the point here where even if you got the plants from given to you from somebody and you grew your 4 plants outdoors, you still didn't end up harvesting enough to make it worth your while with the food and the water and it was just like it's too much work. Like you say, towards the end of the season, you have to deal with the what's that? Dew in the morning that ends up getting on your plants and they got mold
well, now it's worse too, with all this excess rain we're getting, the flooding and stuff that we're getting in the Northeast and Canada and stuff. So, it's harder for that. I'm not much of a pot grower, but back in the days at High Times when I worked, I had a like a fire escape in the facing a backyard, and I would just put out about 4 plants or so. I really enjoyed doing that. Whatever the quality was, it came out good enough for me to smoke. And I learned a little bit from High Times of some of the rules of what to do. And I was growing outdoors, and it was kind of it was fun. So I encourage people to do it. If any enjoyment working with plants and getting your hands in the dirt, please grow some weed. It's so much fun. It really is. Don't expect, to have super crop, but still give it a shot. Yeah.
I'm having a hard time. I'm way up above the 50th there.
Yeah.
So I'm.
Yeah, you're pretty far north, Al.
Not having a good. Seeds aren't working for me.
Yeah, but at least you can choose what strain you're growing when you're growing. If you go to a store, you're stuck buying what they have.
Or go to the store.
It sounds like global warming is impacting all of this.
You think so?
Well, the seeds are not popping for some reasons. That certainly the too much rain, is causing damage to crops and things like that. So,
There's Jack.
Or fires.
Hey guys, I'm so sorry for the delay. Just one of those days.
Partying again, weren't you?
Now it's a case in British Columbia that I had I thought it was at 1:30 my time, and it was 1:30 their time, which means that it's a long turns into a long day in Ontario. So, anyways, I'm out of my suit. I'm out of my suit and I'm available.
So, Jack, meet our Canadian wonder lawyer, Jack Lloyd, and I'm sure you know who Steve Bloom is, Jack.
Hey, Jack.
Absolutely. I followed your work for years.
Thank you.
I like to bring on Jack when we have people from the industry on, because he gets a little giggy. He gets all celebrity kind of.
Well, didn't Jack used to write?
Well, he's the key figure at Green Candy Press, which has put out a lot of books about the cannabis and mushrooms and other awesome things.
Editor, but have you ever written anything, Jack?
So I write in my work as a lawyer, but no, I was just the book editor. I just edited. I guess sometimes I would write captions, like if sometimes if an author. Right. So sometimes, if the author was just like, well, it's self-explanatory, I would probably write the caption sometimes, but I'm not a writer by any means.
Wow. No, but Steve is a writer,
and
I know.
I'm an editor.
I know
I'm
he
an
is.
editor, by the way, and I wear that very proudly. Not just a writer. I'm an editor. And I was an editor at High Times. I was editor in high school newspaper and college newspaper. You learn the skills, you know. It's good to be able to do both, you know, as, you know, someone venturing out into the publishing world, you know, if you can do both, that's handy. You know, copy editing even better, you know, if you really know your words and your grammar and stuff. That's where I sort of draw the line. I can copy edit, but I'm not a copy editor. You know, I'm fussy about spelling and words, but somebody will know more than me.
I don't know how Jack does it, because I mean, he's in court all fucking day. He comes over and sits with us a couple of times every couple of months, and he's got a new puppy, and you know,
more court cases.
Court cases. This man, I've sent him a text, a question, probably on the air. He's like, "I'm in court right now," so he even answers when he's in court.
Oh,
can't really say anything back to that, you know. I mean, there you have it.
Darcy's back. Darcy had a legal question because he didn't believe me. So, Jack, we have a legal question for you.
Okay.
If somebody's been raided, shut up, Darcy. If somebody's been raided, shut up, Darcy. If somebody's been raided,
okay.
All right. So a search warrant, they've gone in, they've raided a place. How long do the police have to lay charges?
Well, it used to depend on the charge. So for the entirety of us having a criminal code, it was 6 months. But then Bill C-75 turned it into technically 1 year, but for some offenses, they can basically extend it indefinitely. So in jurisdictions like, say, British Columbia, it's limited. I just finished a case in which they executed the search warrant 3 years before they commenced the prosecution. Like so the short answer is they've got plenty of time, but the general rule of thumb is everywhere except British Columbia. So basically everywhere east and north of British Columbia, the going rate is 1 year. Like if they have not started within 1 year, they're not gonna.
What happened to due process?
Well, it's a great question. I speak regularly about the elision of what I view as foundational constitutional rights, and I do think that some of these amendments seriously impact that. So it's the rise of the administrative state. Really,
so
has
really don't have any
that.
rights, is what you're saying.
No, I'm definitely not saying that. But I am saying that that a lot of the changes in Canadian criminal law have caused very serious rights deprivations that we're waiting for the right judge to fix. So
Somebody's asked the question. Do you mind?
I'll do this because this is going to be funny. Yeah, this is going to become the Ask Jack legal questions night. So, Buddy Weed says, "Hi everyone, I have a question for Jack. A person who has a criminal record for possession for the purpose of trafficking cannabis, pre-legalization in Ontario, who is looking to work in the legal industry, I'm guessing. How would you suggest going about it? I would start by changing your name from Buddy Weeds."
So it's a great question. So so Buddy Weeds, the great news for you if you're looking to work in the cannabis industry is that a pre-legalization conviction for possession for the purpose of trafficking is not a bar to working at to obtaining a license. So you can be a cannabis retail manager of a cannabis store in Ontario, and you can own a cannabis retail operator license and operate 150 stores if you would like.
Hey, Jody just did it. Jody just got it.
That's right. So that's the key case on this. So we've established that. So so that's a winner. So it's only if you've been charged after legalization that it becomes really, really tricky. Now the question, if you wanted to cultivate or you wanted to have a licensed production facility, then it turns into a more nuanced assessment. I've gotten lots of people licensed that have possession for the purpose of trafficking conviction, but that's a longer answer. But in short, there's no barrier. You're free to participate in the industry in Ontario.
Can I ask a quick question, Jack? Is there a lot of work for you now post legalization?
It's a really great. It's kind of blowing my mind. Steve Bloom is asking me questions. That's so cool. So I've been reading your.
Sorry to hijack this.
No, I love it. I have been reading your work since I was like in my teens. I love everything you do, man. That's so cool. So as far as work, it was extremely busy leading up to legalization. With like there was this movement in Canada of people that basically started doing all sorts of really eccentric things with cannabis. So they would open stores without licenses, and it was kind of this like a judge described it as an interregnum, like a in between kings. So there, like the people were like, it's about to be legalized, anything goes. And so I was really busy just representing people where of course the police just said like, the law is the law. Like, I'm charging you with drug trafficking. And so there were literally hundreds, if not thousands of people that had been charged with all of these offenses and that they needed to be dealt with. After legalization, my practice really changed. So there is still a criminal law regime in Canada. So I've got, a decent amount of work with that. But the real busy stuff was the regulatory and administrative law, dealing with people that, okay, now I have a license or I'm applying for a license, but I used to work in the legacy market. And suddenly the government has all sorts of questions, and it's very, without a lawyer, it can be very difficult, or it can be very challenging to answer those questions. And for many people, they'd never been licensed with anything before. Maybe they had worked in the cannabis industry their whole lives. And so the government, they never got a charge, they never got convicted of anything, but the government's sitting like, well, what have you done for a living for the last 30 years? Right? And they go, well, that's a great question. And so a lot of people needed a lawyer that could give them some assistance in answering those tricky questions.
And that's why Jack has been around for 15 years.
Well, it certainly kept me busy. Now, a great deal of my practice is administrative, and that's what I mean when I talk about. That's what I mean when I talk about like the elision of rights. Like it's this erosion of like what we view as like these constitutional rights that we hold, right? So in the administrative context, they don't have to prove anything beyond a reasonable doubt. They're free to rely just on someone's allegation. They're free, like the rules of evidence are extremely fluid. So it's a, I hate calling it a kangaroo court because it's not, it's still a court. Like it's very disrespectful to an administrative law court. But I just did a case. I just did a case where my client, he's got a dated cannabis record. He applies for this license. It's not a cannabis license. It's a license to build houses. And he's had this license for 30 years, no problems, but they've changed the regime. Now, when you go to renew your license, they ask you, have you ever been charged with anything? No. So my client answers honestly. He sends them in a 800-page transcript of this giant sentencing of him getting in trouble for cannabis. And they freak out and they say, well, what is this? You're some type of crazy criminal. You can't build houses. And I run the trial. So of course we appeal. I run the trial, or it's called an appeal de novo. It's just a trial. And I asked the regulatory body, I said, what if my client had just lied to you and said, I've never had any problems with the law? What would happen? And they literally said, oh, we would just give him his license. We don't check. So for me, really? I was like, that's the administrative state. I said, that is in a nutshell, the administrative state, which is that the only honest guy seeking this license is denied. And it's anyway. So I tend to ramble on this topic, and I apologize, but it's very interesting, of course.
Have you been reading the chat on the side there, Jack?
Yeah, I have been. I was waiting for Jack to get done there to let him know that the questionnaire, Buddy Weeds, you and him are friends by the looks of it, because you represented him in this particular case he was talking about.
When he was convicted of growing.
Oh, you know what? I have to be cautious. I don't know who it is, but Buddy Weeds, if you want to send me a message, just send me a message. I'm happy to chat. I have to be careful because I don't know the details and I don't remember. But
I would say, in all honesty, you lost that one, because he said at conviction he was told there was a 10-year ban from the industry. That's why he's wondering how is he going to get into the industry if he's got a 10-year ban.
So that I don't know.
Free legalization.
I don't know of any 10-year bans from the cannabis industry. So I'd need to speak directly with them. And I'm more than just give me a call, Buddy Weeds. Call me anytime.
There you go.
There you go.
You too, Steve Bloom. You can call him too anytime. He said, anytime you need a Canadian lawyer, call Jack Lloyd. That's my commercial for you. Because Jack knows shit.
It's a great name.
Yeah.
I get my weed from Buddy Weeds. Perfect.
Yeah, just go down the road to Buddy's place and get some weed. So it is 8 o'clock. We like to take a break around late 8 o'clock, and I'm kind of bummed that Mary Jane is leaving, because what I'm going to play is a 9-minute thing that her and Timmy did on the Newbie and the Doobie, because we're going to start carrying the Newbie and the Doobie on CBG TV. So we're going to start with some replays, some old stuff. There's lots of episodes they've done, and eventually that's going to lead into a late night talk show. So that will be done live, hopefully.
Oh, scary shit.
Yeah, especially with after 10 o'clock with Mary Jane, she gets a little.
Yeah, I know.
It's a future company name. Oh, okay, we're still on that. All right, so we're gonna watch that. I'm gonna load it up here, and then we'll be back. This is the 420 Radio Show. We're chatting with Steve Bloom. I think. Let me see. We have. I didn't look. 9 minutes and 8 seconds for you to go pee.
Thank you.
So we're chatting with Steve Bloom from Celeb Stoner Magazine, and Jack Lloyd, and everybody else is gone to sleep. And Al's here.
I'm here. I'm not sleeping.
All right. I'm just going to get rid of the chat here. No, that didn't work. Oh, yes, it did. We're playing with new buttons here. Oh, there we go. Oh. Holy.
And I can't even help you.
All right, there we go. We're going to watch this. We'll be back. This is the 420 Radio Show. Hitting new buttons.
Hey, Mary Jane Baker. No, I'm Mary Jane Baker. Wait, can we do that again?
Mary Jane Baker, take 27.
Hey, I'm Mary Jane Baker, and you're listening to 420radio.ca.
This is how it grew to me.
Going.
No, Timmy, what gets me going?
Let's find out what gets her going.
Well, today's a doozy. It's Dirty Business.
Nice.
And I'm not talking about the show from Home and Garden Television, because
Nice.
that show gets me going, but in a different way. I'm talking about not necessarily illegal, but immoral and unethical behavior. Can be caused by coworker, employee, boss, customers, doesn't matter. Can range from defamation to poor working conditions. Does not matter if you're a man or a woman,
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter your race, religion, age, you are not exempted from this. Now, I'm specifically going to go a little deeper. I'm going to go deeper because in the cannabis industry, the top positions are held by men. Majority of positions are held by men. And I would like to see that changed. Being a female, I would like to see more females. I would like to see equality. You know, I want to see a little bit of, let's say, gender equality. That's the right word.
That seems very, very politically correct.
Okay. I like to be correct. So I'm going to go a little deeper and specifically speak to the women. Okay. I feel like I should say, I'm not speaking to all women. There are plenty amazing, supportive women within this industry, and I have had the pleasure of working with many of them. Some of them. Some are nicer than others. These women, instead of feeling threatened, now I'm talking about the women that I've had the pleasure of working with, instead of feeling threatened, will go out of their way to help others succeed. I'm not talking about them. Those women are the true role models when it comes to, you know, women empowerment. I'm speaking to the mean girls. You know the kind.
Mm-hmm.
They're nice in public and dismissive in private. They talk about you to your peers.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they twist the story just to make themselves look good. They'll boycott your ideas and then, even worse, steal them for themselves. They'll purposely not invite you to meetings, parties, or gatherings. Some might even spread lies or rumors about you. In my opinion, the thing that I find the absolute worst is gaslighting. Do you know what gaslighting is?
Yep, I drive with the gas light on constantly. My record is like 30 kilometers on zero.
Although that part is true, that is not what I'm talking about, gaslighting. I actually didn't know what gaslighting was for a long time. And it would have been beneficial if I would have known this because I was being gaslit in my past. So let me tell you what it is. Gaslighting is a series of manipulation tactics that are used to help keep the victim from being able to differentiate between fact and fiction. So I was constantly being told, you never said that, when I clearly did. But it's the manipulation into, did I say that? Or maybe I didn't. So I'll just give you one example from a work past. I was waitressing. I ended up losing my job. No explanation, just, we don't need you. Don't come in. There's no shift for you. And I was like, okay. You know, that happens sometimes. I didn't really care that much about the job. I could get another one very easily. But, you know, years went by and that owner of the restaurant lost their restaurant establishment and ended up with a chip truck. I just happened to end up at that chip truck and noticed that it was my old boss and thought, you know what? I'm going to ask that question because I've never been let go and I didn't quite understand. Apparently, he told me when I asked him that one of my old coworkers said that I had stolen. I'd stolen money. First of all, why would I steal?
To have money?
They were paying me to work there. I get more money by working there than risking it by taking whatever happened.
Seems very logical.
But I didn't know until years later. And that was caused by a coworker. So that's just an example of something that had happened to me. Chances are you've experienced some sort of mean girling, I want to call it. Mean girling within the workplace. If you're successful, I'll just say this. If you're successful or are following your dreams in any way, chances are you've already got a target on your back.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
What can you do about these mean girls? Well, you can kill them with kindness. I know
Or
you've
kill
heard
them.
that. No killing.
No killing.
Just with kindness. I know you've heard that before. I'm not the first one to say that. I just want to point out that you should be kind and not fake, right? I know Jackie always talks about kill them with kindness. And if you're looking for an example, follow that woman. She shows you how it's done. Kind, not fake. There's a difference. Do not, absolutely do not engage in any sort of counterattack. It's not worth your time or your energy. And I'm sure you've heard the phrase, don't stoop to their level.
I've heard that.
Okay, I was waiting. I was like, no.
You're talking to them. I'm just kind of a fly on the wall.
Okay, well, you said,
This is my fly wings. Like a butter. Like top over there. Take pasties.
Pasties. Okay, all right. Tip number 3, try problem solving. See if you can come to a solution. And if not, try and find how to spend less time around this person. That could be a solution as well. Do not gossip. Even talking about this person that you're having a problem with could be seen as negative. Keep the name out your mouth. Okay?
You know there's a bunch of women watching this right now going, she's talking about Susan. I'm going to go tell Susan Mary J was talking about you.
Actually, it was Karen, but just saying.
Sorry, Susan.
No, I wouldn't say that. I'm actually, like I said, you may think I'm talking to you, but I mean, that's on you. I don't know that. And honestly, I don't want to know that. If I'm talking to you, stay as far away from me as possible. Just saying that. Support and uplift others. Okay? Think about this before you open your mouth. Will it add value? If it doesn't, it's probably best not to open your mouth. Find your tribe. Find those people that support, love, and care for you, and surround yourself with them. Last but not least, take the high road. Because the reality is, if somebody doesn't like you or is jealous of you, there is not a damn thing you're going to say or do to change their mind. Just smile and tell yourself, be better, not bitter. And that's what gets me going.
CBGTV is the way to broadcast your message to an audience looking for your products or services. Affordable advertising, personalized campaigns, special promos, event attendance, and more. Talk to someone today, in person or by email. Find us online at www.cbgtv.com. Or you can send an email to admin@cbgtv.com. Additionally, if your phone scans QR codes, scan this one to learn more.
Hello, people.
Hello, Al.
So that was the very first episode they did. And there's lots of different ones, but they get better.
Yeah, that would be a fun one. I wish she was here. I'd like to rant on her a bit.
There was a big X across your face, Al.
Yeah, I seen that. I was going, what's going on there? So I just found what it was, and it was my mic was muted.
Oh. And there's Jack back.
Hi, Jack back. How's the new puppy?
Hey, everyone. The puppy is good.
Did you name it? I don't know if it was a male or female. We didn't get that far. We just were like, oh, puppy. You had just gotten him that day.
Yeah, I had just. I was like the day I brought her home. So it's a she, and her name is Lola.
Oh, her
Lola.
name was Lola because Jack is a Barry Manilow fan.
Right there. That's what my dad said. That's so interesting. So I had wanted to name her Pumpkin, and I had it all in my head. I was like, all right, I have a dog named Pumpkin now. And then they had already named it, and I just sort of ethically, I don't like renaming. If they've been named, they're named. So, anyways, which is fine. My last name is Lloyd, so it kind of works. Lola Lloyd is kind of has a ring to it.
Now she's what a Shih Tzu.
Yeah, Shih Tzu.
Shih Tzu.
Yeah.
Suitcase dog.
Yeah.
I love them. I think they're great, although they're yappy and they bite.
Yeah, she is that.
Slippers with guts.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they are. Slippers with guts. They're pretty much the same size as my dog's shit.
Your dog's name is Shit?
Anyways, let's not dump on Jack's dog.
On Jack's dog, no.
Let's not.
They're cute, and you can teach them such cute little tricks too.
Look
Do you
at
carry
that
him
grin.
around?
Jack is frozen. Look at the grin. It looks like the joke.
I was trying to get the audio to. I'm trying to use my earphones, but they weren't working. Actually, Lola has come to see me. If you want to say hello.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Of course. Let me make you big. Hold on. Let me make you big.
You don't have a bow in her hair yet. You made them
No.
small.
She hates anything that ties her up. So yeah, no bows.
No.
Oh, I missed her. Where'd she go?
she's playing at my feet now.
Well, plenty of time to see her. Welcome back, Steve. Did you? I wanted to ask you guys. Do you smoke in your home, Steve?
Yes, go ahead.
And I'm asking because Al doesn't. I know that he vapes.
Yeah.
I do. I smoke in my place. In fact, I've turned my spare room into an Airbnb, so people come and they can openly smoke in my house. Because I do. Do you smoke in your home, Jack?
Yeah.
You do, eh?
Yeah.
So your office must smell really nice. All those.
I've had that comment made to me before. Yeah.
I can just picture, I've only seen the background because he's on from his office, but I can picture one side weed and one side books.
Yeah, no kidding.
Well,
Yeah.
my rule of thumb is that I live in an apartment building. I don't live in a house. I don't have a porch, and I don't have a backyard. I can't step outside and smoke, which would be great.
Have you run into issues for that?
Was that?
Have you run into the whole tenancy issue?
No, but I'm careful. I moved back to this apartment about over 10 years ago. It's the family apartment where I grew up.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't smoke that much when I was younger here with the parents in the house. Usually smoke out at friends or outside or wherever, concerts mostly. Mm-hmm. And so coming back here as an adult, in this era, and also taking over the apartment when my parents passed away, and being a stabilized apartment, I didn't want to give them any excuse to not give me that lease. So I just been careful in the apartment for years. Now I have the lease. They're stuck with me. But prior to that, I was a little worried about it. So I basically smoked out of a particular window in the front of the building that faces away from the hallway, and it wouldn't get out into the hallway and stink up the hallway. And that's my main goal, is to not, have that in other people's faces, so to speak. It's not their business to have to smell my weed, and it doesn't, apparently, because I don't get any complaints.
My mom's condo, when I was living there, since she's been there, I've always sat out. She had a little place that was right on Mount Pleasant in Toronto. And neighbors made a few comments when I had been there. But then I moved in for a little while, and I was openly smoking out there quite often and walking around the building with my dog. And I went up to the manager of the building and I said, went just at the legalization thing. I started, I was already legal. And I asked what they were going to do about pot, jokingly in a conversation I had with her. She says, "Oh, we're going to disallow it." I said, "How can you do that if somebody's medical?" She said, "Unless you have a medical certificate and you can prove it, you can't smoke on the property." I said, "What about smoking in the building?" She said, "We're not going to allow it." But as Jack will attest to, that's not allowed not to allow. I mean, you can't do that. So unfortunately, we don't have that condo anymore. My mom passed away, but
what's interesting about New York that you may or may not know is the legalization law allows public smoking. You can smoke wherever you can smoke tobacco.
Yeah.
So there are places
here in Ontario as well.
Places you can't smoke,
Same here in
mostly a
Ontario.
park or a beach, whatever. But sidewalk in front of anywhere. So, there's been a lot of sort of complaints. I think people get used to the smell more because now people are free to smoke publicly. In the past, that's how most of us got arrested in New York, was public smoking.
We can smoke public here, but because of the Ontario Smoke Free Act, you cannot smoke a cigarette or a joint inside a building.
Same thing in New York as well. Outside you can. Can you outside? Can you smoke tobacco in the streets in Toronto?
Pretty much. We do anyways. We always have.
So it's not illegal to smoke.
I don't know.
Not illegal to smoke out.
I don't know about you guys, but if I spent $1 million on a condo, I'd be really upset if condo board told me I couldn't smoke cannabis in my condo.
as well.
That I just spent all that money on.
I'd be pretty upset
They
if
can do that, right?
if they told me I couldn't grow it.
Is there any precedent to that now, Jack? Have things changed with that, made it more lenient, or is it building by building?
It's building by building, so it can be quite restrictive, in fact. So I recommend to clients to avoid letting anyone know that you have anything to do with cannabis if you're in a condo, because the condominium board or the strata corporation in other sometimes it's called a condo, sometimes it's called a strata in Canada. But either way, they have basically all the power of a government. So they can do all sorts of really zany things, including prohibiting cannabis access for anyone. And so if they don't know, you're a lot better off. So
what happens
if possible, avoid that fight.
What happens if you're in a condo? We'll pick my mom's condo at the corner of Mount Pleasant and Merton, downtown Toronto. Very not posh, but it's a upper middle class area, right beside the Mount Pleasant Cemetery. And I smell pot all the time when you're out walking around and stuff like that in the area. But when you live in the building, it seems to be different. You can't just walk, you know what I mean? You can't sit on the public bench and smoke a joint out front of the building that you pay to live in and you own a chunk of.
Yeah. The unfortunate reality is that if that condo board votes,
We keep losing Lennie.
Go on, finish, Jack.
The unfortunate reality is that if that condo board votes to prohibit it, then they have generally, that's been upheld by superior courts. The defense that you would raise is, well, look, I'm a medical user and I need to be able to use it in certain areas. And so then what I recommend clients do is create a defense. So if they say this guy stinks up with cannabis and everything smells like cannabis, you say, well, I've got 4 activated charcoal filters and an electron diffuser, and I've taken every reasonable step to make sure that my medical usage is not disturbing my neighbors. If you do all of that, then I'll keep you, I'm going to, they're not going to win on that, but they can really give you a run for your money. So I recommend to clients is you do not want your neighbors to know about your cannabis use. That's the unfortunate reality. It's sort of part of what I talk about with the administrative state, right? Because if they grant this condo board the power to basically control their own processes, right? The federal government gives you a license and says you can go for it. You're completely right. That should be paramount. The federal authorization or the federal license should be paramount. But unfortunately, the courts have upheld the ability of condo boards to drastically limit.
But yet you're allowed to drink like a fool and make an asshole out of yourself. And there's not much
you could drink like a fool. You could use intravenous drugs. You could do all sorts of things that they don't have a bylaw about. But cannabis, which is like the history of our community, is for some reason unfairly targeted, largely because of the odor. And so it's just this unfortunate reality. But like for your average medical patient, like it's really expensive if you're going to fight this condo board and they want you out. Like it's a heck of a fight.
And in a lot of cases, the seniors, they've been in these buildings for a long time. I was in housing up in Durham, Ontario for 8 years, I think, before I moved back to the city. And they tried to get me out very early in that because I was openly smoking in my apartment, because when I moved in, they did not have that bylaw set yet, and I was grandfathered in, so I could smoke tobacco, which meant I could smoke cannabis. And the ladies, a lot of elderly ladies in the building, they would come out and go, "Oh, do you smell skunk?" It was
we've got a mutual friend who was a patient that ended up taking the in a big fight with the condominium board because they were trying to grow their cannabis in the condo.
Yes, I know who you're talking about. Yes.
Yeah, I know you do. And thinking about legalization, those people that live in those condos, not only can't they not smoke, but they can't even grow their own cannabis.
And and she won that, I believe, didn't she?
Yeah, they had to do air quality tests and everything inside and outside of the room, in the hallways, all that. Yeah, cost some money. Oh yeah.
Yeah, of course it would.
So here we are in 2024.
Howdy, Lennie.
Hey.
Welcome, Lennie.
Hi, Len. I said hi, Len.
Hey, guys. Oh, yeah, no, sorry, I was at a hockey game.
Of course you were.
Did you win?
Who won?
The hockey.
Not my team.
Who are they playing against?
My hometown team, ironically, picked up.
Len's
really?
brother is the coach of one of a very good, what is it, OHL?
He was the assistant coach at Peterborough, but now he's the head coach at Red Deer in the WHL.
So it's WHL. That's women's hockey league.
No, that's the PWHL. I think that's the PWHL.
WHL is.
It's PWHL. That's professional women's hockey league.
Anybody seen a women's hockey league game yet?
No.
I have. I watched the inaugural game.
Did you?
In Toronto. Yeah.
I saw one in Minnesota or something like that. On TV, I watched a little.
I'm not. You know what? Hockey's not really giving me anything. I like tennis. I like watching tennis. I think because of the angles, or even ping pong is okay. Those are my games.
Crash bang hockey, tennis.
No. Golf.
It's like
watching
golf.
You can't golf anymore.
Come on.
But yeah,
I'm typical American baseball, football, basketball.
I don't even kick the ball around with my dog.
I actually like baseball more than hockey.
Do you really?
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, baseball is something that I've enjoyed going with my mom. My mom was a diehard fucking like you, Len, but for the Blue Jays, like diehard.
I was Expos and Red Sox.
No, there's a game on. Are you
Expos
into sports?
and Red Sox, and
you even have to Red Sox sports? The Red Sox.
Yeah, well, unless the beloved Montreal Expos ever come back.
Are they gone? They're done.
Oh yeah.
You're in Washington.
Oh yeah.
I didn't watch baseball for about.
They're in Washington.
For about 6 years after the
1994
strike.
I didn't know this. So
they are Washington. They're the Washington.
They're the Washington Nationals. Yeah.
Who's in Montreal now?
Nobody.
Wow, man! You see, that's how much I'm into sports. Are you into sports, Jack?
Well,
he's out of it by
it's
about 20 years.
literally almost what 30 years ago or 19 years ago.
Rigger. Somebody's.
I would have thought you would have been to Jerry Park.
What's that?
That was the original place the Expos played.
Oh,
the little stadium.
I think they left in
Jerry.
'96. I think
before they went to the Olympic
Yeah.
Stadium, there was a little stadium called Jerry Park.
I used to roller skate.
I know this stuff, guys.
In the original.
You're the Canadians, and I know this. I'm teaching you about Jerry Park.
I know Jerry Park.
All right.
Never heard of it.
I also, when I finally went to Montreal in the last couple of years, when I got I was there when I was a kid. But when I actually learned how big a pain in the ass it was to get up to the Big O, I get why nobody went. You need a downtown stadium.
You know, when we were kids and we were into hockey, my brother is a sports writer today, and he loves hockey. He loves all sports, and he just dragged me to games left and right. We went with the Ranger fan club to see the Canadians. Took a bus a couple of times. Came from New York up to Canada, stayed in a hotel up there, went to a game. Really great to have gone to the old Forum, I'll tell you that. But, you know, we did that.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Montreal is probably the best place to watch NHL hockey, like of all the arenas. I did get to go to Chicago and MSG and Boston and Montreal. It's lively there.
Last hockey game I went to was with my grandfather, and he had season tickets just underneath Harold Ballard's box. And he would sit there for years and years and years. He would sit there and they would talk and chat during the game. And I remember the last game I went to was the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Bruins at Maple Leaf Gardens, and I was probably 10, maybe a little younger. You know, and it now it doesn't that doesn't mean anything to me. Like that means a memory, but the venue is gone now. Maple Leaf Gardens is gone now.
And the same thing with the original Madison Square Garden, or was the second, I believe, Madison. But when I was a kid, we went to that one, which is either the newer one built in '68. We were already going to the one in '65, '66. Rangers and Knicks. I saw Bill Bradley's first game there.
Maple Leaf Gardens is now Ryerson University's sports complex, and they
where the ladies played out of.
Yeah, and they have the original rink there.
Yeah,
but it's the practice rink, not the main rink.
The Toronto ladies team plays out of that arena because they were talking about during the first game that they were honored to be playing in the same building as the original Maple Leaf Garden.
That's where they're playing.
That's where they're playing. Yeah, the Mattingly something.
It's the Ryerson Athletics Sports venue or whatever. I don't know what it's called.
Yeah, so that's where they're playing out of. Was out of there. I went to probably one of my last NHL games would have been the Montreal Canadiens and the Leafs in the old Montreal Forum, and we sat up behind the net, up above the gondola. Man, we were way up in the nosebleed seats.
Wow, I remember the nosebleeds at what they call now. What do they call it now? We called it the Sky Dome.
Rogers Center.
Yes, Rogers Center now.
Yeah. From the old days of like the Madison Square Garden, I remember was built up like this as opposed to out like that. So it would just go up high and look over the side to see things. You know, you had to stand in your seat or whatever.
I can't remember what we saw there, but we've been there. It was probably a hockey game.
Several balconies up.
We used to go to New York quite a bit, right?
They're cool places. You're like right on top of the game.
Right on top of
it. You're right though. The newer stadiums they're not nearly
more out. Like Madison Square Garden, exactly. It's like that.
All the new arenas are like that way. The steeper the arena, the better for viewing.
Well, that's what it was like when we're sitting in Montreal.
You can't walk up the fucking stairs or go down.
Those are not.
The people below us.
They used to even have people walk outside the garden on the fire escapes, leaving. Probably not even safe. Side of the building, walking out like that.
The people below us were at our feet. That's where their head was at our feet. That's how much of an angle we were on.
Right. But
the interesting thing about hockey games, though, is they won't let you go in and out for smoke anymore, cigarettes or cannabis.
When we were kids,
Although, at Ontario Place at the concert venue there, what they call the Budweiser stage now, used to be the Forum. They have a smoking area at the beginning when you come through the gates, and there's a large area just between the gate and the food stuff by the bathroom where you can smoke, and people openly smoke cannabis in the smoking area. But, the last handful of concerts that I had gone to, I didn't even smell weed.
Well, that's the funny thing. Cannabis is legalized. You don't smell it at concerts anymore.
Depends on what show you're going to.
I'm sitting there like this with my fucking Shatterizer down my shirt, scared shitless. I just paid $175 for tickets. I don't want to get kicked out.
To see who? I saw Fish. Everybody's smoking at the show. I mean, they don't care anymore. They don't care anymore. They used to. Now they don't. I'm finding down here
in Canada, if it's indoors, it's
they
heavy.
Don't care.
They care about it now.
They're researching people for anything.
I went
anymore.
to see The Who. I went to see James Taylor. I went to see Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah, well, it was illegal.
And the only concert that I saw or that I smelt weed at was fucking Chris Stapleton.
He's a stoner. It makes sense. That's why he's hanging out with Willie Nelson all the time.
Yeah, now with our smoke-free
buds.
You'll remember this, Steve. Back when the Black Crowes were at their height, when they were touring, they had a huge curtain that they would whip across the stage that was a big pot leaf.
Yeah, they dropped it like 2/3 through the show or something like that.
They didn't smoke weed back then, but they
did. They did. I hung out with Chris. I did the cover story on the High Times. I was down in Atlanta hanging out with him and Eddie Harsh. He was his roller and he was a keyboard player. Eddie's gone. Eddie passed away. But that day I spent at Chris's place with Eddie rolling, hanging out with him all day, smoking, bullshitting, and then
my point is when they quit
heroin
doing all the substances that they were doing, because for a while they were doing
the heroin now.
They still did that. They still do it now.
Chris thought he had to be like the Stones or Keith or to really qualify to be a rock star. I think for
the
Chris.
The Black Crowes are one concert that I've seen more than a half a dozen times. I mean, they are somebody that I enjoy. Like Fish, I've seen Fish a few times. I saw
together in
Toronto at the Masonic Temple, and Zed. What's the one that the Elvis impersonator?
The Elvis impersonator.
Reggae. Sings reggae, but does it in an Elvis. Dred Zeppelin.
I love Dred Zeppelin, yeah.
They opened for Fish.
Uh-huh.
And they were and this is back when Fish was really young. They were bouncing around on the trampolines, right?
Yeah.
Doing backflips while they're playing. And
yeah, they're pretty kooky.
But that's when concerts were concerts.
Yeah, I suppose so. But honestly, it depends where you live. I mean, I told myself the most busted person in New York or thrown out of the most clubs at any, because I was always out there, smoking at any venue at any club in New York, constantly being thrown out. I mean, so it's so much better now, in terms of all of a sudden you could smoke in places you couldn't smoke before, you had to hide. And even when then the law was passed that you cannot smoke tobacco anymore indoors, so we didn't have any cover anymore. And so I accepted the fact I'm not a tobacco smoker, but I said, okay, tobacco and pot together at a club, good, because it kind of protects us a little bit. But then when they did that, then we were really screwed. I used to 3 times for weed, in New York and in New York and New Jersey. So not in those situations, but constantly harassed. The most harassed guy, I would say, not busted, harassed by these guards and stuff like that at concerts. It's changed a lot. There's a lot less harassment. So
with no smoking indoors, with no smoking allowed indoors anymore, it's hard for you to let it join in.
I mean, it depends where you live. They want to bust balls, excuse them, then they might. But in New York City, it's like whatever. Once the legalization happened, like the cops, like, hey, we'll go deal with some other shit. It's like we're out of this. We're done. We had our fun. We're not wanted anymore. We're not needed anymore. Go do something else. Whatever the fuck they're doing, do something else.
Yeah.
They arrested 50,000 people a year for several years in a row. I mean, it was insane. I was among those. You know, I mean, you let your guard down, boy, they catch you.
Yeah.
Do you ever get told nowadays that you talk too much about weed?
A friend of mine once mentioned it recently.
I've been.
I was kind of
Is that
surprised.
all you talk about is weed, man?
It's not. It's among this group, but yeah, I mean, it's my priority, you know, of what I focus on. But I have other things I care about, you know, like sports. We were just talking about
You
sports,
know what? I'll tell you something.
movies. But also to me, you know, I go to movies, but I'm not going just okay. I did see Oppenheimer, but I generally go to movies that I'm looking for a drug angle because that's my thing. I'm the specialist on weed and drugs in the
Did you
movies.
see Beekeeper yet?
What?
Did you see Beekeeper yet? The Beekeeper.
No,
Never heard of that one.
That's a good one. That's Jason Statham, his new one, and I watched it the other day for review purposes.
I'll take a note on it. What was there? Is there any drug use? You're saying?
No, it's what you would expect from him, but very well done.
All right, but the question here is, you know, I'm talking about sort of stoner movies. Is it a stoner movie?
No, it's not a stoner movie. It's an action movie.
Oh, then why are we talking about it?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
come
don't
on.
Well, I watched a movie.
I would like that's a
recently.
movie I wouldn't probably watch because it probably doesn't have any potential drugs.
The Creator is if you haven't watched The Creator, it's not necessarily a stoner
I never
movie,
saw that yet.
but it's fucking good. It's got the whole AI fucking Terminator end of the world shit going on. So
Really?
I guess there's a bit of a brain fuck, but I wouldn't call it a stoner movie.
Well, does anybody
But
watch?
it's a
anybody
great
watch-
movie.
Anybody watch
Great
Last
movie.
of Us? You know, the fungus that's taking
I
over
fucking
the world.
love that. I played that. I own both Last of Us 1 and 2 on my PS5. I probably played them both like 5 times through.
So for me, that's my connection. Even though even if it wasn't about a fungus, I'd probably be interested. But that ties it into what I like to write about. You know, because hey, it's a fungus. You know, we like to talk about, you know, the power of mushrooms and fungi and things like that. Look what it can do. This thing, by the way, can't affect us now because of our body temperature and stuff. But, you know, if we're, you know, like 10 degrees lower, you know, we could be susceptible, you know, to that.
On the fungus thing, I have a question for Jack. Where are we with that up here in the Great White North there, buddy? Are we getting any closer with the fungus among us?
So as far as psilocybin legal challenges,
he's got to use the real fucking word because he's a lawyer.
But I love magic mushrooms, so I'm very, very interested in it. Certainly. So the federal court litigation is moving very slowly. It's anticipated that there's going to be a ruling in a criminal case just because a criminal case happens so much faster. So there's a number of them before the court. Some counsel on
closed. Yes.
Is there one with Dana Larson? Is he? Because
yeah, that's mine. So I'm counsel on that one.
Did you see what he did, Dana Larson?
I saw
three places.
You all know what
he's open again already.
He sent like legislators, all of your what in BC he sent, or is that federally?
Yeah, in BC.
Every member of the legislative authority, he mailed them or allegedly mailed them. So I'm certainly very conscious of it.
NJ Weedman sent everybody a joint with his book. He got into a lot of trouble sending. If you know who NJ Weedman is, I'm sure, Steve.
Yeah, I don't know what book it was. I never saw that so-called book.
He had a book or a leaflet or something that he would send out to politicians with a joint in it.
Hey, now he's in the business. They give him a license.
Oh yeah. Oh God, he's got a place in New Jersey and a place in frickin' Florida. You know.
That's not a weed place, so that's a club. You know, but I guess he could do what he wants in that club. But it's not. I think a licensed.
I don't know. I
was down there once. I was down there once. I was there once. But it's not legally. It's legal to have the music there, but it's not legal. I think for them to have a lounge there, you know, like a legal lounge, which it probably functions as such. You know, it's kind of a hip hop.
Sometimes those places push the laws in order to force change, though.
And he used to come on the show. I remember the first time he came on the show, he had his laptop sitting in his grow room, and he put it down and in a puddle. And while we were on the air, it fried. But 20 minutes later, he showed up again on his desktop from home. He ran home.
What a character! The last time I saw him, I was moderating a panel discussion in at Florida Cannabis Festival north of Orlando, and he came to be on the panel. He sat on the panel with a huge pit bull.
Yes, yeah, he is an individual. He used to be one of our
Friendly pit bull.
One like Jack, Ed used to be one of our go-to guests. He would be around. It was Jack, Jeffrey Peterson, the 420 comic, Ed, NJ Weeman. Oh God, there was a whole bunch. Those were the days. And now people, they're wanting money to come on podcasts now. You know.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was going to ask
Really?
you. But, you know.
No, Al's had people today.
I've only been asked once or twice.
I have. I've been asked a couple of times how much they get. Do they get a gratuity? I mean, the big shows, they get a set fee for being.
Everybody's trying to make a buck. You know, whatever we could squeeze out. To be honest, you know, as speakers at events and stuff, we're treated like crap. I mean, I've had more problems with event organizations and stuff like that. I've run through them, like, you know, like whatever. They just are old kind of scammers, most of them, and nobody wants to pay you. One guy, one place, the International Cannabis Business Conference, what I used to work with, I kind of dropped off during the COVID period and stopped working with them. Went around the world with them. They paid me for my services, but I gave them something unique. I gave them a one-on-one interview with Tommy Chong.
There you go. Jack does a lot of events.
I did it in Vancouver, by the way, 1 year, which was a great time to have it. You know, because obviously Tommy has such great. You know, he could just tell all his Canadian stories. You know, obviously his whole career started in Vancouver, right? So that was great. That was just terrific. You know, I did it 5 times. I did that Chong program 5 times around the world. So that guy was great, Alex Rogers. But I mean, I'm just saying even people who are veteran like me, you know. They feel like they're doing you a favor, giving you a slot, you know? So, hey, if you need the slot, grab it, you know? But if you feel like you're worth something, try and get some money for it. And they're not going to give it to you, then make a decision whether it's worth doing that, you know?
Do you get a gratuity when you speak at these events, Jack, usually?
I'm not organized enough to think
you know,
that.
Most don't offer, but like say I often moderate panel discussions. That's work.
Oh yeah.
That's a different story. Like if you're going to an event where they're selling tickets,
and the
100% get a
Florida
gratuity.
Cannabis Festival over the last few years, I study what's going on there. I know how many MSOs there are, what's the percentage, who has the most, blah blah blah. I'm ready, you know. So I'm just saying, you know, if they want me, pay me, and you know, for that kind of stuff. And if a local in New York and I'm just around, sure, you know, I don't mind it. You know, that's just good publicity. But you know, but not a moderation. You know, I don't know. It depends. I did something for Weed Maps recently with the Freak Brothers. They were promoting the series that's on TV, the animated series, and I did a Q&A with one of the producers at an event in New York. I did that for free, but I was also looking to build a relationship with Weed Maps for other purposes. So, so whatever, I'll get whatever I can get out of it. But I'm just saying, we're all underpaid. Us in the media side of the industry, I'm telling you.
Always have been.
You know, so those of us who can get something, Danny Danko, friend of mine, you know, Ed Rosenthal, he's been around longer. He's got Ed's about 10 years older than me, and obviously has a little longer experience. But, you know, Ed was there at the beginning of High Times. I came in sort of the middle. You know, I came in, now it's not the middle because High Times is 50 years this year. But I came in 89, 88 when I was, you know, 15 years old. I'm in the middle third. I'm in the middle third.
They're more technical and more less entertainment industry that we have lately, anyways. Like Ken from Flormax or Flomax, as I like to call it.
They're not the same thing. Trust me.
Yeah. It ain't working for me, buddy. But the industry is different. You know, I see these events where we've been given a table at Can Expo. Is that right, Al?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to be there doing our thing. One of the things that Al and I and Marcel have been doing for a long time is going out to the events and being live. Right.
That's great.
Now we're doing it with video. So we're gonna Al's got his little setup, and Irene will have her little setup, and we've been doing that. We've been doing that at the Karma Cup and at Lift and all kinds of things. So
And
in
at a
saying
Harvest
that,
Fest where I
and
got to
Harvest
almost
Fest,
cripple myself. Yeah.
Our lift got canceled.
well, I was just going to bring that up. We're hearing this as well. It's been
Well, not
Yeah, I
totally
heard
canceled,
the
but
other day.
they changed dates. They're going to do San
postponed
Francisco
indefinitely.
and Toronto. Wait, two they canceled, and you go to their website. It has a little, like explanation.
Everybody picks up their phones.
It's happening, and this is my point. The industry is changing. You've got younger thinking people who are using the mentality of an activist, going at and making these events like the Karma Cup and other things. They're drawing a younger crowd. It's not us older guys and women who are, stoner 60s people. It's younger 20, 30, 40 somethings, and they don't know about the culture, and they don't care about the culture. What they want to know about is what kind of equipment is out there that I can grow my weed and process it.
Well, some of them. I mean, everyone's not a grower. They just.
No, of course not. But my point is, these events have gone from a festival feeling to a car show feeling.
Yeah, I suppose it depends on which ones.
Now there's a new group of people that are an old group of people that are coming back that are trying to change that landscape. Are we any closer to sampling and stuff this summer, guys? Lennie, I don't know if you remember, Len has an LP here, Truro Cannabis, and
no longer.
Oh, you're gone, are you?
Yeah,
Oh, congratulations, Mazel Tov.
I'm unemployed.
Oh boy, you're not unemployed.
Well,
you're too fucking busy to be unemployed. Yeah.
I'm a board member with Truro Cannabis. I'm not in operations anymore. How about that?
Well, there you go. So I'll ask Jack then. Jack, are we any closer to what we want? And I've known Jack for years. He knows what I want.
You know what we are. So the provincial regulators, I think it's Saskatchewan. In any event, they have made amendments to their licensing regime that will allow for consumption and cooking and consumption of sort of on-site produced items. So it's starting, and they're just using the alcohol model, right? So they're saying, look, all right, you got a temporary use permit to run a bar.
I've been saying that the whole time. If they can do it, why can't we?
Right.
You can walk down a frickin' yellow store, no frills, and walk down the aisle and say, would you like to sample this, sir, if you look over 19 years old?
Right. And so and for ages, we said, all it really takes is for someone to apply for one and then see what the province says. And I tried for ages, but my clients usually just do it. And, if the police come, they call me, I guess. But I was waiting really for someone to sort of say to the province, this is no different than an alcohol event. Why don't we do it that way? It has now succeeded with at least one provincial regulator, and I anticipate that it's going to happen across the board. I think that it was inevitable after they allowed for Farmgate in Ontario and now British Columbia. So, you're consuming on site. It's almost there. So I would say within the next 2 years, we're probably going to see.
Not this summer.
Who knows? Maybe this summer. But I think we're going to see massive leaps forward coming not from the federal government, who I think is just going to keep everything locked in. They've been really kind of myopic. They've actually enhanced the prohibitions on promotion and discussion.
Is it going to be the public, though? Because right now, only if you got a can sell card, you can go and sample shit. But if you don't, you can't.
Well, that's the provincial. So that's sort of what I'm saying is that can sell certificate exemption is a provincial exemption that allows for business to business interactions. So what I think is that's just going to be expanded within the next, 24 months.
Well, as it should.
I very much think that. I think just even I deal with say in Ontario, I deal with the Alcohol and Gaming Commission quite regularly, and I think that they're ready to start allowing that. I've got clients that have. I have a client where he's got a cannabis store, and then a bar, and then a venue. So it's this big concert hall in Parkdale, and like an event there with the cannabis store open and the bar open, like it looks like, and if you go to Manitoba, you go downtown Winnipeg, there's a bar where there's a bar and a pool hall on the one side and this beautiful cannabis store on the other side. And it's just separated by an open doorway, right? It's all owned by the same guy. It's beautiful. So I think that the provincial regulators are going to really make some changes that make it a more fun industry that looks the way that we sort of thought it should look. It looks the way that it looked when we were just doing it completely illegally and having fun. So
I think we'll see what happened this summer somewhere.
I was in a store today, a legal store, and I was reminiscing to the bud tender. It was really fun when you used to be able to go into a California dispensary and see all the jars out, and then they pick it out of the they grab it out and give you your eighth or whatever and weigh it out right in front of you.
Yeah.
You can't even do that here. The only place you can do that is in a legacy store or on a reservation. Otherwise, you got to buy a package like this.
Yeah. I did today, and I mean,
and
now
they're
selling. Now they're selling ounces.
The only thing you can do is the squish test. That's all you can do. You can't even see what's in the bag.
Squish test. Good point.
The squish test.
One of the stores I was at, they had jars. You could see the clear jars,
sure.
And they had smell tops, which I'm not crazy about at this point, but still, it was okay. I mean, I guess that's a way to kind of guess, but. Like today in the store, they had a good price for New York, like a 200 ounce, in a bag you cannot see. So it's like the stuff is not good enough to trust to go for a full ounce yet, to me.
Well,
have a little jar out that you can see it, and just, exactly where you can, I don't know, there's got to be a way. That's the old way in California where you could at least see what you were buying.
Yeah.
You were talking about the provincial laws changing and stuff. The one that I liked recently that just came out is Alberta, because they are going to allow cannabis to be available at adult-only festivals and trade shows.
Yeah, expect PEI to do that probably maybe this summer. I know Nova Scotia, there's a group trying to get a pop-up event. I've spoken to the province and NSLC. It's coming.
Connecticut just shut one down.
Really?
An event company doing something combining consumption and selling. I don't know. It was in the news.
We're at 3 minutes.
They're very proud of themselves, for some reason, because it's illicit or they didn't have a license, so they were doing something.
I always found it funny, and Jack will know this. When we had events at the lounge, it was a cannabis lounge in Hamilton. They, in some cases, they wanted to serve alcohol, so they had to go and get a certificate from the office there, and then have somebody who had a license to serve, like the can serve thing. Now, I always found it funny because they would go in and put Gunjanista's Cannabis Lounge on the application, and they would go, "Sure, there you go, you can serve alcohol." I always found that was funny. Okay.
2 minutes.
We have 2 minutes. I want to make sure that Steve gets a minute to tell people where they can find him.
I think it's 30 seconds.
Oh, yeah. We don't have anybody after. We can go a little long. Right,
I thought it was an all-nighter. I was planning to be on till at least 2 or 3 in the morning. I thought it was like a marathon. We're raising money.
Al does the daytime scheduling, and this is before 12 o'clock. I do the nighttime.
I'm going to miss you, everybody. Okay. Yes. Okay. So please, Substoner, my website. Feel free to come by there and check out the news. Pretty strong on Facebook and X. And I encourage people to go to Patreon, where you can join up and get the newsletter, which is, for patrons only. It's free now. You can actually Patreon is now as a free function, so you can join for free. You can also join a tier and pay a couple bucks a month.
And you
or
can
whatever.
tip and things like that.
No, there's no tip. At least not from me. I don't have tipping, but you basically just have a tier. But the good thing there is that it's free, so now people can kind of like dip in a little bit. They like it, and maybe they'll decide they'll join as a paid member. But it's about the same, really. If you pay or you don't, you're going to get the newsletter in the mail and any other special reports. But you won't get the total special treatment. I mean, if you're a patron, I'm hyping your stuff. So join.
Yeah, I follow a few channels on YouTube that uses them, and I've not really explored the options. I think I might look at it for
Marijane's got it.
Yeah, does she?
Yeah, and this show, I should get a couple of followers.
Well, we'll explore that option. Yep.
Is this Patreon Slipstoner? That's how to find me. And thank you for having me as always. I love going north of the border and chatting with my buds up in Ontario.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on. Apparently for free nowadays.
Yeah. I'm still not charging, but I might ask you to join my Patreon next time.
We give us a link. We'll put it on there, buddy.
Patreon/Slipstoner. Patreon.com/Slipstoner. You'll find it. Easy.
So I thank everybody who listened. This is the 420 Radio Show. Jack, always a pleasure having you. We'll see you next month. I like to have Jack on like anytime. And I wasn't asking Jack to come on as a lawyer this time, really more as but it always ends up legal talk.
Yeah.
And Al, we'll see you. I don't know. We talk every day. I don't know when.
We'll be talking probably after the show.
Why am I fired?
No. Well, this is the first time I've been involved with any Restream broadcast. So.
Yeah, we're using Restream for CBG, and Al hasn't actually used it because he ports it. He's a fan of the old StreamYard.
Yeah, so I ported it through.
What was good about that? I was able to, post it at LinkedIn and my Slipstoner Facebook.
I was going to ask you if you wanted to do that.
I did it. It gave me the option, so I went and did it right away. Because usually I have a hard time like finding out what's the right link or something. But this is perfect. I hope.
So it shows.
Go watch the Red Deer Rebel.
Just shows us like now, right? So
have a good one, Lenny.
See you guys.
We'll see you later, Len. So I guess that's it. We're done.
Yeah, we're done. Good night, everybody.
Lovely to see everyone. Happy New Year.
They're good to see you, Jack.
Awesome to see you.
Good to meet you, Steve.
Happy Martin Luther King Day.
Is it?
Thank
Really?
you.
I didn't know.
Monday.
Oh, okay. Bye-bye.
Same night as the Emmys.
Announcing CBG TV's Bud Break book. Get your copy now. Detailed strain reviews. Every purchase supports the ongoing efforts of CBG TV. Available from Amazon and at cbgtv.com or scan the QR code. Watching the Cannabis Broadcasting Group here at cbgtv.com.